Hi everyone, my name is Jessica, and I just wanted to make this video because I wanted to talk to all of you about everything that's happening with COVID, with our economies, with um, basically globally, and with everything that's happening with our education systems and the fears of children going back to school, teachers going back to school, daycares reopening. A lot of us right now have a lot of worries, and that's normal because it's a pandemic. And I think that we're all going through this for the first time. So it's really important to be reflective, but also realize that you're not alone. And a lot of us have these questions and issues and uncertainties. And it really is a very unprecedented time. Um, so that's why I wanted to talk to you all, because I just think that sometimes I've always been a lover of people. I've been a lover of animals, and I'm a lover of the world. I love plants, animals, the environment. So currently, because of COVID, I've been off work. So I'll just tell you about myself so that you can kind of understand my situation. And so I've been off work because of COVID. I do live with Crohn's disease. It is a disability and it is an invisible illness. So Crohn's disease is something that it does impact my everyday life, and I have different sort of accommodations and routines that I have to follow so that I can stay as healthy as possible. And the thing is with my health is that it's not predictable. So today, for instance, is a good day, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling, I had coffee, everything seems to be okay. I always have issues ongoing, but there are some days when I can't get out of bed, and I literally go to sleep at like 6 p.m. Anything I eat like hurts my stomach. I can barely eat or drink. Sometimes I get so dehydrated that I have to go to the hospital and get IV fluids, and it's also quite painful. I have a lot of vomiting, diarrhea, a lot of ongoing stomach issues that are just basically part of my everyday life, and I just kind of learned to deal with them. But with COVID and everything going on, I can't risk my health because I am on a medication that lowers my immune system. So I'm definitely more at risk. And because I'm on a medication that lowers my immune system, in general, I have a more compromised immune system, and I do get lots of colds, flus. I get a lot of respiratory infections, which are all secondary infections because it's not Crohn's related, but it's a secondary infection from the environment that, because I have a low immune system, I am more at risk, so I do get these sicknesses basically all the time. And that's just part of my life. But with COVID, what happens is that when I have a secondary infection, I don't get better, and then I need to take time off work and heal. And it's like having a really bad flu or cold that doesn't go away. What happens is that because I'm on these immunosuppressive medications that lower my immune system, because Crohn's is autoimmune, so when my immune system finally has to kick in to heal the issue that I have, like the respiratory infection, as soon as my immune system kicks in and to try and help me get better, it automatically flares up my Crohn's. So Crohn's is just something that basically my immune system, when it's active, it's overactive, and it starts to attack the inside of my intestines. So basically by attacking the inside of my intestines, I have all these cuts and so forth inside of my intestines, and then basically scar tissue is not flexible. So if anyone that has a scar, there's no elastin in scar tissue. So basically when I have the scar tissue forming in my intestines, so your intestines are like a flexible loop, kind of like a balloon, but when you have scar tissue, it sort of forms in a ring formation because of it being intestines. So basically the scar tissue ends up making it a lot more rigid so that when you eat, stuff can't pass through, and it forms narrowings over time. So from having basically scar tissue all the time and getting cuts in my intestine all the time, which it is painful, but I just deal with it. Basically, then I get these narrowings that end up forming blockages. And because of that, then I've had 5 surgeries for my Crohn's. And some of them have been bowel resections, but I've also had my gallbladder removed because Anyway, so basically I'm just telling you. So I have health issues and that's why I'm off work because of COVID. So right now I'm healthy as I can be right now, but that's why I wasn't able to work the whole time with COVID. So basically with everything, I do have an appreciation for life and I really do. I value life. Basically that was just my little introduction of my own issues, why I'm at home for COVID, and I do value life. I do. I've been in a lot of pain. I've been in a few near-death situations, and it makes you reevaluate your priorities. And so basically, as people and as humans, we all have our own responsibility to keep ourselves as safe as possible, but also to keep others as safe as possible, which is basically essentially why wearing a mask is so important. So please stop complaining about wearing a mask because you're not wearing it for yourself. You are wearing it for yourself, but you're also wearing it for others. So others with compromised immune systems. COVID is spread through respiratory droplets. So if you were to cough, or even when people talk sometimes, some people, you can see spit flying from their mouth. You can't always see the smallest size droplets. So even when people you can't see spit flying from their mouth, there are respiratory particles and droplets that fly, and then the COVID virus is very contagious. So that's why wearing a mask just helps reduce that risk of transmission. So, okay, so that's the spiel. Basically, I wanted to talk about education. So this is something that as individuals, we are all responsible for our own education. And as parents, I'm not a parent, but parents have a responsibility for their children's education. At the same time, as much as you have a responsibility for your children, they have to realize that they also have their own responsibility. So high school students and, say 7 and 8s, basically all students should be encouraged that they are responsible for their own education. So when they go to school and they enter the classroom, it's their responsibility to try and pick up learning cues throughout the entire day. So essentially, a teacher is one person teaching a group of 30 people. It's nearly impossible to be able to accommodate everyone's learning style all at once. It really is difficult. And someone who, say for instance, needs, physical stimulation for their learning, they'd probably be super bored and not listening to what I'm saying. And that's fine because that's their learning style. But we all need to be encouraged to embrace our own learning style. Kids need to be encouraged to be responsible for their own learning. And the thing is that kids need the tools to understand why learning is important. So learning is important, I'll tell you this, because learning, you need to be responsible for your own happiness. You're going to grow up as a human and you're in Canada. You're super fortunate, but you need to take advantage of what makes us fortunate to be in Canada. Education's free, so take advantage of it. Take advantage of free education, because if you want to be someone and you want to better your own life, only you can better your own life. And by learning and by giving yourself the tools to pursue education, that's the best gift that you can give yourself. It's the best gift that you can give anyone. So education is this superpower. People that are educated are so smart and they can look at the world. They have so many opportunities because of their education. They can become, aerospace engineers. They can become scientists. They can become doctors and pharmacists and lab technicians. People can run their own small businesses. They can have, internet networking companies. That you can be a chef, you can basically do anything that you want. You can be a farmer, you can be a plumber. Excuse me, I keep sniffing. Honestly, any job that you want opens up to you when you have the right education. So basically, education is super important. So I've made some notes here that I want to talk about. I know I've really rambled on. So that was about a 10-minute intro, but I'm going to start reflecting and reviewing my notes. So basically what I'm telling you about education, and I've taken these notes and I wanted to share them with you because I want to try and impact the world in a better way. And for me, this is the only way that I know how. So since I'm home and it's COVID, I'm sharing my thoughts with you so that if we can encourage some sort of a movement to try and get people to take more responsibility for themselves and for their own education and for bettering the world, That's what we need. And young people, you are the future. Young people and people, anyone willing to go back to school to learn, to do something to make the world a better place. You guys are our future. So the fact of us feeling so uncertain right now, that's a good thing. That's normal. Use the uncertainty. Use this sort of, being uncontent. Use that to fuel change and learn and grow, because we're not in the best spot right now. As humans, we've pretty much botched the earth, and now it's our turn to take it back and to take responsibility. So this is my way of trying to help all of us take responsibility, because sometimes we have to ask ourselves the hard questions. We have to ask ourselves what we want to do to make a difference. And sometimes it's not enough just for ourselves to make a difference, but we need to try and make a difference together. So now I'm going to start looking at my notes now. So education starts at home. So if you didn't get that from what I was already saying, education starts at home. It starts with you. It's not the teachers, it's the parents. You've had these kids, and you know what? Having kids is tough. It is tough, and anyone that has seen kids for more than 2 hours knows that having kids is tough. It is for sure. But you know what? These kids are little humans. Kids are smart. You guys are smart, and you know that. So we need to start education at home. We should be practicing reading, letters. Basically, we need to rethink the education system. So teachers guide and teach each child, but each person should be responsible for their own learning and the learning of their children. So children also need to realize that they need to take ownership for their own education. So kids, you guys really need to step it up right now. We know that you're smart. You need to get it together, and you need to push so that you can better yourself and be the best version of your own self. So taking ownership, we need to teach independence. Teach kids to be independent and to be able to look after themselves, to be able to make the right decisions, even when you're not there looking over their shoulder. We need to teach manners. Manners are important. And so let me tell you why manners are important. Because anyone that is well-spoken and has manners, when they go somewhere, they automatically are treated better because of the way that they approach the situation. So if you have bad manners and you go somewhere and you say, hey, I need someone to fix my car right now, that is kind of, that wasn't the most polite way of saying that you need your car fixed. So you're not really acknowledging what that person's doing. You have to be able to take other people into account and be polite. So when you're polite and you say, if you were to need your car fixed and say, hi, excuse me, I'm having some car issues and I was hoping that someone could please take a look at my car. Just saying please and kind of saying hello, and you're more likely to be treated well, but you're also treating people well. So you have to be able to treat people how you want to be treated. So teaching manners is important. Saying please and thank you, saying, may I please have a drink, instead of saying, I want a drink, things like that. It's so simple, but teaching manners, it really sets you up for success. And then you are also, by saying please, you're also acknowledging that that person is helping, do something for you. You want to be able to, if someone says, can you please help me with something? You're more likely to want to help because they said please. It just sounds nice. It's just, manners are important. So you know what? And you're responsible for your own manners. So stop using the excuse that, you had a hard upbringing and you don't know manners. Practice, saying please, saying thank you, complimenting people. These things go a long way. Okay, so we also need to teach sustainability. So we can't continue these unsustainable practices that we have. We need to be able to encourage people to think and live sustainably. So kind of, using reusable containers, bringing your own water bottle, bringing your own coffee in a thermos, things like that. I mean, I'm not trying to kill the economy and tell people not to, eat out, but using your own containers and avoiding plastic, single-use plastics, we need to do that. Just living sustainably, being able to buy your own groceries, being able to shop responsibly, being able to, buy clothing secondhand, and just encouraging, sustainable living. We don't need as much as we have, and sometimes less is more. So just we need to teach sustainability. I'm not teaching it all right here, but I'm just saying that's what needs to be taught. We also need to teach kindness. Just being kind to each other is so important. And you know what? Sometimes you come across someone and they're having a really bad day and you can tell. And in that moment, you can either let their bad day ruin your day, or you can just be kind and try and guide their bad day into a better path. So just teaching kindness is really, really important. I know I'm rambling a lot here, but okay. My next note is to teach global issues and communication. So we really need to teach global issues and communication because you know what? With everything happening with COVID, I think we realized that we're affected a lot more globally and on a global scale as humans, that communication is so necessary. We need to be able to communicate and, help each other in the world because the world is a lot smaller than we've realized. So COVID is scary. COVID is scary, right? It's a global pandemic. Basically, COVID has helped us see that the world is a lot smaller than we realize and that we're all connected. We're all connected, guys. Like, there's a lot of crazy things happening in the world and we're all connected. Like, we need to be able to look out for each other. And, as Canadians, I'm a Canadian. I honestly love and value diversity. There's so much strength in diversity, guys. We need to be able to look out for each other. We need to be able to help each other. We need to be able to encourage each other to grow and learn and just try and be healthy. Like, we need to help the people in the world that are way less fortunate than us because we're so fortunate. So basically, yes, we're all connected and we need to share kindness. And you know what? The best way to share kindness is just aim to make each day better. Aim to make each day a little better for someone else, for something, for animals, for creatures. Biodiversity is so, so important, guys. And as humans, we think that we are, the top shit, that we can do whatever we want. We shouldn't think this way because we're destroying the world. Biodiversity is so important. It's invaluable and it cannot be denied or compromised any further. Biodiversity is something that, it's every living organism. We have so many things. We have, the photosynthetic organisms like plants and stuff, and we eat those and we can get energy. But we also have little animals. We have, little mammals and little, rodents and little reptiles and insects and stuff. And like, we don't have to love them, but we have to appreciate them and we have to understand that they bring value to this world. We need to help encourage biodiversity because it's so important. Even the decomposers like worms and those kind of, soil bacteria and microbes. Microbes are so crazy. Like, they can be so, so dangerous or they can be beneficial, right? So we have to be able to understand that we don't know everything about biodiversity, but we can learn from it. And humans are not really helpful at this point. Like, we need to change who we are as humans and how the human race affects the earth because we're really screwing it up right now, guys. Like, this is kind of why I'm making this video, is because I want to try and encourage people to understand how important biodiversity is. Like, animals, science needs funding, guys. Like, I can just tell you how important it is, but the people who study this, like, they need funding. Science needs funding. Environmentalists need funding right now. So basically, I'm going back to my notes. I'm kind of all over the place, but we have a huge discrepancy. We have this huge gap in wealth in the world. And basically 5% of the wealthiest people in the world, if those people have so much money that honestly, if the 5%, the top wealthiest people in the world, say even the 3% top wealthiest people in the world, if they could all get it together and be generous and help make a fund, like the COVID Global Economy Fund, honestly, guys, like they can help save the world. Can we just get it together and do this? Like, I'm not one of those top 3% wealthiest people, but if I was, I'd be all over that. I'd be like, come on, guys, now's the time. Like, let's make a difference. We can really step it up and we can make a difference for our community, for the global community, for the global economy. Like, now is the time for all of you rich billionaires to really step it up and try and make a difference. Like, please, can you please do that? It's so important right now. And renewable energy, we need to be investing in renewable energy. I'm not saying that I want to end the full, petroleum and oil industries, but we need to transition to renewable resources as well. And like the global economy altogether, like we need to work together. We need to like make things work, guys. Soil remineralization. So right now in Canada, part of the reason why North America is so amazing is because we have fertile land. We're able to grow. We're not a desert like so much of, the Middle East and Africa. Desertification is, it's when you can't grow anything in the soil because it's sand, it's desert, it's basically like barren land. There's no moisture, there's no minerals in the soil. But soil remineralization is basically if you were to take some of our organic waste and put it into, barren fields and so basically you're converting a desert into fertile land over a period of years. Like first you would want to be like irrigating a whole bunch of, pumping in ocean water into like kind of a swamp, and then you would have different microorganisms and stuff, and you would be adding compost and stuff. Like you'd probably want to autoclave the compost so there's no like live not really dangerous organisms, but you want to have that sort of organic waste pumped into these swamps, and then you can start growing plants that grow in salt water, and then you basically are making this marsh, and then through the soil remineralization you're able to convert a marsh back into something that can grow anything, that can grow any sort of like seagrass or seaweed, stuff like that. And then over the time the seaweed is going to be taking the salt out of the desert, and then you're going to be kind of remineralizing these huge areas of land over a period of say 10 years or so. And just by investing in that, then you'll be able to convert that into farmland, and you'll be able to convert surrounding areas into farmland, and you'll have these huge like wetland reserves in places that you never would have had a desert. So it's like essentially what I'm talking about is building a mirage, like building some place that you would see in the desert and be like, wow, I can't believe this is here, this is nuts. But we're going to start doing that. And doing this, the soil remineralization not only helps humans, it's going to help animals and wildlife in general as well. So speaking of animals, we also need improved animal welfare globally. Like this is something that as humans, we are not the top shit. Like we need to realize animals play a role and they deserve respect, because we did not make them and we do not have the right to treat them with pain and suffering. Like if we're going to have, I'm not saying end, eating meat and dairy and everything, but we need to improve animal welfare standards. It's a given. This is something that needs to be done. But we also need funding for farmers. Farmers need funding. If you have animals and you're making a profit off animals, you need to think of yourself as a farmer. You're an animal farmer and you need to take responsibility for your animals, and we need to transition to more humane practices, because the word humane is very ironic because humans are the worst freaking species for being the most inhumane. So we need to end these wet markets. Wet markets are basically where COVID-19 originated. So essentially we have these markets of alive animals and dead animals and animals that are in such close quarters in cages that they're peeing and pooping on each other. So ingestion of feces causes so many issues, guys. Like we can't have that. These animals are getting so sick, and it's basically a breeding ground for these horrible pathogens. Eating shit is terrible. That honestly is the worst thing you can do for getting someone or different animals to be really, really sick, because it develops resistant bacteria. It develops resistant, dangerous viruses. Like, we have to have sanitation is just like, it's so important, guys, with COVID. Like, viruses, bacteria, fungal infections, these tiny things can be so dangerous. So, which is why sanitation is so important. And these sort of health practices to keep, resistant bacteria and resistant infections, we need to keep those at a low level, which is also why this sort of soil remineralization and diversity is so important, because diversity, a biodiversity, is having a balanced diversity of different organisms. Probiotics can help combat a negative bacterial infection. You just need the right probiotics. There are bacterial colonies that can help to metabolize oil spills, for instance, but it's not that you can just put a whole bunch of them on the oil spill. They grow in a lab, guys. Like, we need to be able to appreciate and put more funding into science, because I can't tell you everything about it, but the scientists who can work and use their funding to try and find beneficial bacteria and beneficial organisms that can help combat things like COVID, SARS, any sort of infection, these are areas that need funding right now, basically. So yes, with animal welfare, we need to improve animal welfare standards. That's how COVID happened, was because it was inhumane conditions. And it was with bats, and it was in a wet market. They thought maybe it had something to do with like armadillos and animals that were basically like half dead being stored in crates. Like, we can't have that. This is so inappropriate and unacceptable. Like, it's so inhumane, guys. You really need to step it up and like end these kind of practices. We really need to help fund farmers more, because there are so many farmers that are great farmers and do an amazing job. And, our economy we live on the foundation of food that farmers have made for us. We don't realize, but our fields in Canada and the United States, we have some of the best fertile land. We can grow, wheat and barley and canola and peas and soybeans and corn. And there are so many things that we grow in North America. And farming is really, really hard work. We help feed the world. Living on a farm right now, and my husband's a farmer. He grows soybeans and wheat and canola and barley and peas. And these things, some of our peas grown in Canada are dried and they're shipped to India. So we are helping feed, thousands, hopefully millions of people in India. So our fields here help feed those in India that they can't grow crops because it's so hot and our environment is so messed up. So right now, funding farmers is so important, even more important than ever. And long-term funding and soil remineralization, if we can help transition fields that are in India and in the Middle East and wherever in Africa, if we can help transition these areas that they used to have farm fields, if we can convert those barren land, like land plots, into these sort of swamps, and so for soil remineralization, we can help the world so much, guys. I know, like I've gone off topic so much. This is kind of why I was making this video, is because I just want all of us to try and make a difference. So I know that you won't be able to make a difference in every field that I'm talking about, but if you can make a difference in some of the fields, and if we can encourage young kids and young people in general and adults in general, if we can encourage all of us to try and make a positive impact, whether it be individually or in a group, making a difference is so important. And if we can just be better humans, because right now we need to step it up. Like societies, we need to step it up. As communities, as governments, as countries, we need to be able to step it up and be better humans. It's so important right now. It's not just about you, it's about the world. It's about those little animals outside that need compassion, and you know, they can't go to a supermarket to get groceries when they're hungry. Like, little raccoons are shooed away all the time and they're pests. But do you know that the GTA, so Toronto area, is the raccoon capital of the world? Like, where do these raccoons live? No one wants them to live there. It's like a secret society of these like underground, you know, little mammals that come out at night and just like, they're amazing. Like, they're so cool. Honestly, I think that if the human race was wiped out because we're destroying ourselves, raccoons would probably take over because they're literally the coolest. They're like little koala bears that are more, they have more dexterity. They're almost like little humans. They're little hands and like babies, and like, they're so cute, guys. Stop being mean to them. I'm not saying like put all the food out for raccoons, but at the same time, like, we need to look into like our parks having dispensers for bird seed and different animal wildlife feeds, because we are really, you know, we're encroached on their land and we have to be more kind. We can't be like hitting raccoons with shovels or hitting them with pellet guns and stuff. Like, it's just not, it's not humane. I don't even know why the word humane was even created, because humans are literally the opposite of the word humane. And not all of you are bad, like, seriously, but we can't have such a negative impact. Like, we really need to try and get it together and be better humans. So yeah, I definitely did a double espresso right before making this video. So yeah, we need to be better people. I think I need to take a breath. I'm like talking way too freaking much. But guys, you know what? I think that right now, with everything happening in the world, we need to help encourage our governments to try and fund improvement. So education is the building block for improvement for each individual. The better educated you are, the more you can understand that as humans, we have an influence to make a change. We all have the opportunity to try and make a change for the better in the world. We're all responsible for ourselves, and parents are responsible for their kids. So when you're a kid and you wonder why your parents care so much, it's because technically they're responsible for you. Like, you're their little human. And you know what? It's hard. It is hard being a human, guys. Like, for the kids and for the parents, it's hard being a little human. It's hard being a big human or an adult, a kid. It's confusing. Like, what do we do? We're supposed to look out for ourselves, but then also like, oh, we're destroying the world, and now we're not allowed to, you know, go to the grocery store. We have to wear a mask. We're not allowed to see our friends. Like, everyone's so dangerous. Everyone's being treated as though we're this walking plague, which like, humans kind of are a walking plague. Like, really, we're destroying the world. But guys, like, let's step it up. It doesn't have to be that way. Can today be the day that we're like, we're going to fix the world? Like, we're going to help. We're going to make it better. Can we stop being a walking plague, and can we start being a walking solution? Come on, guys. I really am rooting for all of us. And I hope that if you've learned anything from me, I hope that you can tell that I have a passion for life, because I do. And I really do want to make a difference, but it's hard. It is hard to make a difference when you're by yourself. And I mean, like, it's not that I'm alone, like, I'm married and everything, like, and I have pets, but it's hard to know what to do when we're in such like a crazy situation as people. Like, we should all try and make a difference, guys. It's so important, and you matter. Like, you matter so much. Everyone matters so much, and you don't even realize how much you matter. And that's the thing, is that the problem with our society is that we take things for granted. We take our own lives for granted, and the only time when we can really learn to appreciate it is through loss. When we lose someone or something, and we find value in life that we didn't know existed. Like, if you were going to only be able to live for a week, how would you live your life? Think of that. If you could only live for a week, how would you live your life, and how would you make a difference? How would you make a difference for the better? to leave the world a better place. So I hope that you all took something. Hopefully you can find some sort of way to be passionate about making change for the better. But I think that education is so important, guys, and we have to really be trying to learn at home and in the classroom. Education is an ongoing journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey, and everyone learns differently, but you need to follow your path of learning to make your life better, because learning is the building blocks, and the foundation of life is built on education. When you have the right tools to make life better, you're more likely to succeed. And it doesn't mean that you have to be enrolled in an Ivy League college. It just means that when you're constantly striving to better yourself and to better your life, you are giving yourself the tools to live a life that you can be proud of. So whatever path you choose, I hope that you can follow it with pride and with happiness, knowing that you have chosen the path that you walk. I think I'm going to go, but I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and that I hope that you can find happiness in yourself, and I hope that you can help make the world a better place in your own special way. Thinking of you all and sending so much love. I know it's a pandemic and it's easy to feel alone, and to be honest, I miss my Toronto family a lot. I haven't seen a lot of them in 6 months. I did get married and we had 20 people at my wedding, but I missed my extended family a lot. I'm really, really close with them, and my friends as well, like my Toronto friends. I have a lot of them, and everyone that I have met, I hope that basically everyone I've met has changed my life a little bit for the better, and I think that that's what's important. But I hope you all have a great day, and I hope that you can find and network with people that can help make your day a little bit better, and that you can impact their day for the better as well. So thinking of you all, and have a great day. And there was my big spiel about everything, and I definitely went off topic and was a little bit random, but education starts at home, guys. Take responsibility for yourself and have a wonderful day. And stay hydrated and take your vitamins, because it does impact your mental health. Having the right building blocks from food can impact your mood and your health. It just helps your body function better, and adequate hydration is so important. There are so many diseases that cause dehydration, and dehydration is basically the root of so much disease. So stay hydrated, guys. Keep your electrolytes up. Be healthy. Be safe. Bye.